1,078 days until the next presidential election just became a whole new level of crazy. Donald Trump met with Zohran Mamdani, the communist new mayor of New York City, and people were shocked by how kind they were to each other and how much it seemed that they were in agreement on things like affordability. Now, in Asmongold's comments, people were saying that Donald Trump is simply following the mantra of keep your friends close and your enemies closer, your enemies being Zohran, while other people were saying that the real enemy is the media because they were asking questions that would evoke emotional responses. Donald Trump did say that he believes that Zohran will surprise many people, and he has already done that, even though it's not actually that surprising. He has already returned to his insulting and aggressive self after being just oh so friendly to Donald Trump in the Oval Office. So in this video, you will hear Zohran's new answer to whether or not he believes Donald Trump is a fascist. You will also get the latest updates on the Muslim Brotherhood and the termination of the temporary protected status of Somalis. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what Donald Trump says we must focus all of our energy and might. Please make sure that you are subscribed. Let's go. I'm like Candace Owens. I have a whole timeline here. So if you guys are like me, you completely skipped Zohran Mamdani's victory speech. You just saw people put Trump is your president and we're like, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. But let's go ahead and look at what Trump and Zohran had to say about each other before the meeting, and then we'll get caught up to real time, okay? Let's hear what Zohran has to say about Trump.
If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power.
Now, let's hear what Trump had to say about Mamdani.
It's a disaster waiting to happen. We can't have a communist in charge of a great, supposedly free enterprise, kind of a representative city.
Donald Trump also had to say this.
Who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. We don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the...
I mean, that he totally is doing. I was so excited to see Zohran show up and then ICE is there at the meeting and he gets deported for having ties to terrorism. And also on June 14th in 2026, the White House is going to host a UFC event. And so I was totally expecting this to be a prelim of that, and the two were going to square up. However, even though Zohran says this, that's not what happened.
But if you want to pursue your promise to create the single largest deportation force in American history, or your promise to persecute and punish your political enemies, then you will have to get through me to do that here in New York City.
I just cannot wait for that to happen. So then, right before the meeting, we had 100 Democrats who refused to condemn the horrors of socialism. It was shocking to know that so many Democrats deny that socialism has repeatedly led to famine and mass murders and the killing of over 100 million people worldwide. We will come back to this later in the video. And then this picture popped up on my timeline. I've never seen somebody smile so hard. I guess he was showing off the fact that he was flying economy on Frontier. Then the next crazy thing that happened was a bunch of goats got on board the aircraft. It was wild. So they had their meeting and they said that it went really well. And one of the reporters asked if Zohran believes that Trump is a fascist.
And after President Trump said that, I said yes.
You did not. You put your head down and were like...
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Okay, so this is definitely a moment that is going to go down in history. That was a trash truck working at McDonald's type moment. So spontaneous. I loved the fact that Trump just said, no, it's okay. You could just call me a fascist. I mean, mean, he's so used to being insulted by these deranged people. Another important question was brought up by the media because Zohran has stated in the past that he plans to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and wider neighborhoods. So obviously this is a concern as it is racism. Zohran has stood firmly beside this statement in multiple interviews. And so I think that it was great that it was brought up.
You're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
So suddenly he completely flipped the script and said that that is not what he meant. That's why it makes sense to me that Jack was just annoyed by the entire thing.
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job.
So this post here says that MAGA is so cooked. So this is one of those accounts that claims to be from the United States, but might not actually. I don't believe that this is causing discourse within MAGA. People are more just trying to understand the strategic moves behind Donald Trump right now. This could also be a way to unite Democrats and Republicans in the country. Trump says that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I believe everybody wants him to do a good job. Nobody wants to see the most advanced and biggest city in our nation completely destroyed. This post says, girls after one minor argument. I'm never speaking to you again. Boys after calling each other fascists and jihadists. So I guess that Donald Trump has completely changed his opinion about Zohran, or he is just playing a very strategic game because in the past, he called Zohran not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist. Donald Trump's whole thing has always been promises made, promises kept, and he has followed through when it comes to immigration and continues to work at that. And so I believe he will stand by this statement as well.
And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense.
Okay, so hopefully all of this is a form of stopping this nonsense, even though some people make jokes and are saying, oh, this is Donald Trump now after he spoke to Zohran. Again, this account cannot be confirmed to be in the United States either. All of this really got me thinking about Trump's speech at the US Saudi Investment Forum, where he said to not talk about it all the time, that they really go down hard on their opponents during the election time. But elections are already over and Zohran already won. So this is what he said.
He was incompetent. They're all incompetent because their policies are incompetent. Open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody.
For everybody.
I mean, they got the worst policy. I don't talk about it too much because if I talk about it, they might change. So, no, I don't talk about it. I tell people, don't talk about it. Wait till 2 weeks before the election and hit the hell out of them. Right? We talked about that, right?
So that might be a part of the reason why he's playing nice with Zohran. Maybe during his first term, he would have completely destroyed him during this meeting, but he's probably learned a lot about how politics work and all of that weird stuff in DC. However, one thing that they did seem to agree on was affordability. And I believe I remember Trump saying that they agree on some issues, but their ways to get there are completely different. Zohran probably doesn't have any other ways besides give me money and I'll throw money around. That's like his only plan. But Brian Westbury recently posted affordability. Everybody is talking about it. It's entirely understandable and easy to fix. Just no one really wants to fix it. And on top of that, it's not as entertaining, so it's not as easy to get this information out there. He says governments plus regulation eat up 51% of our GDP. If government takes that much from us, no wonder we can't afford things. The Fed has tripled money supply in 18 years. Who wins when that happens? People with assets. People without assets end up with higher prices, but no more resources to pay for things. The Fed has caused one of the largest largest increases in inequality in the history of America. And guess what? For those lower incomes, things are less affordable. So what happens when big government and dumb Fed policies combine to cause inequality and unaffordability? Younger generations who can't afford assets start blaming older generations who have accumulated assets. Yeah, they bought it for $1. Younger generations start gambling on single-day options and meme coins, and voters start looking for even more government redistributions, which will only make things worse. The only way to fix this is to dramatically cut the size of government, both overall spending and the size of the Fed, but DC won't do this, and voters who have learned to live off the government will resent it, and that is a lot of people. That's probably why Zohran won in the first place. So either we bite the bullet and fix our deficits and broke government, or things will just get worse. Your choice. Which way will you vote? Caroline Leavitt also set the record straight that Donald Trump's plan and that capitalism works. We are seeing lower costs of everyday goods, and we're getting tax cuts, and we are not as dependent for oil. And then she finished off by saying that hopefully Zohran has learned a thing or two from the meeting with Donald Trump. We do see this in action as President Trump announced that he will officially have Mark Rubio designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Okay, that's probably something that Zohran wouldn't do. And then we have Greg Abbott, who is the governor of Texas, designating the Muslim Brotherhood and Council on American Islamic Relations as foreign terrorists and transnational criminal organizations. And people in the comments are saying that this needs to happen throughout all of America. On the congress.gov website, it says that the Muslim Brotherhood networks raise money here in the U.S. to support Hamas's terrorist activities in the Middle East. According to the DOJ, in the early 1990s, Hamas's parent organization, the Muslim Brotherhood, planned to establish a network of organizations in the U.S. to spread a militant. Actually, we will be returning to this as well. We have Trump doing another thing that Zohran would never do. He says Minnesota, under Governor Walz, is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. I am, as President of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the TPS for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from. It's over, President Trump. And he is not exaggerating. The people who live in Minnesota are fed up. There's autism service frauds by this company, and they were charged with wire fraud for defrauding the program of $14 million. People were getting kickbacks of $300 to $1,500 monthly. And then there was feeding our future nutrition fraud. Mostly Somali Americans were charged with $250 million of a scheme, lying that they were making food for people. We have adult daycares. When I went to Minnesota, one person told me that there's all these fake businesses around and nothing's happening. And one of the big scams is adult daycares, which Zohran has gone to visit some adult daycares and childcare places, and all of this free stuff is just a bunch of scams. And check this out, all Shabab terror funding. Recent reports allege that 20 to 40% of stolen funds from these schemes, potentially tens of millions of dollars, were wired to Somalia and funded to al-Shabaab via Hawala networks. I'm really excited to see Zohran also help in cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, because there's a lot of it from Muslim communities. Like, for example, this girl says that Trump froze my scholarship and I still graduated as the only Palestinian in international human rights law at Oxford University. So people are like, wait, Trump paused your American scholarship for a university that's not in the United States, that's in England? Very, very bizarre. So this is our guy that is going to help us from the inside out stop all of the scamming.
We came here to remake this state in the image of our people.
I'm really happy that Zohran no longer identifies as a blood, because that could be dangerous in the streets of New York, it still does not seem like the American people trust Mamdani. This woman says it's curious that Mamdani wants free childcare for all New York kids instead of an economy where one parent can stay home and raise their child. It's like he wants children to be ushered into communism via the classroom at younger and younger ages. So again, people don't trust him with their kids. People don't trust somebody who is a self-declared socialist. He's a communist. 99.9999999% of Americans agree with young Kim's stance on communism.
As a Korean American who grew up in the aftermath of the Korean War, I have witnessed the horrors of socialism firsthand. I always say, if you want to see the difference between socialism and freedom, just look at the Korean Peninsula at night. South Korea shines with opportunity. North Korea is trapped in darkness. Time and time again throughout history, socialism has led to disaster, starvation, imprisonment, and the death of over 100 million people worldwide. My own family lived those horrors.
Does anybody else find it annoying that Zohran is here like New York, we're all immigrants and we built this whole city, immigrants did it and everything. Whereas the truth is a lot of people had to escape their homes because of the horrors of communism. Zohran, his job is to make New York great again. Capitalism, free market, small government, no free handouts, hard work, ambition, and yet after the meeting, he seems to be completely against Trump again.
Do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement.
And I said yes. What? No, you did not. You put your head down and were like, So he was asked, do you agree that President Trump has done a better job at securing the border than former President Biden? I haven't really thought about comparing presidents on securing the border. That was an easy question. He answered yes so quick and enthusiastically to Trump being a fascist. It does seem like a lot of Democrats are standing down on their stance to encourage our military to defy the president's orders. And I don't think Zohran is going to be any different, but it does sound like Trump's giving him the chance to do what is right and not be like all other horrendous Democrats.
The president's remarks are, I think, indicate a level of instability. It's not just shocking, it's not just offensive, it's bizarre. It is dramatic, it's volatile. And I think it indicates a mental state that we should all be questioning right now.
Yeah, it's so bizarre that Trump called us out for being absolute traitors and just despicable people. They just continuously act like Trump is the crazy one. Meanwhile, we have people posting videos like this. My mom flew from Bangladesh during the cold fall season so she could vote for Zohran.
My mom flew from Bangladesh during this cold fall season just so she could vote for Zohran. She hates the cold because she has bad arthritis, but she didn't care because she was so excited to vote. And today, even though the commuting is hard and inaccessible for her, she traveled all the way from Queens to Brooklyn just so she could vote.
Maybe it's like the whole pace, lead thing that I read about in the Wall Street Journal, where it says if somebody disagrees with you, continue with what they believe in and then make it really dramatic and then just kind of come back to a normal state and a place of common ground. Maybe that's what Trump is doing. So anyways, Elon Musk recently reposted on X that he supports Congress passing voter ID, paper ballots, same-day voting, and proof of citizenship. It's crazy that this is up for debate at all, but maybe with all of these bot accounts gone, it won't be. We have President Trump saying we must focus all of our energy and might on election fraud. I really hope that that'll happen so nobody has to question the integrity of our elections. I hope that the most basic things will become widely known, like LGBTQ and transgenderism stuff is just completely barbaric, and it kind of is a way to ruin your life. Also, that communism as well will ruin your life. I hope that these things just become widely known. We're going to read all of this because of just how important it is. Concurrent resolution denouncing the horrors of socialism. Whereas socialist ideology necessitates a concentration of power that has time and time again collapsed into communist regimes, totalitarian rule, and brutal dictatorships. Whereas socialism has repeatedly led to famine and mass murders and the killing of over 100 million people worldwide. Whereas many of the greatest crimes in history were committed by socialist ideologues, including Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Fidel Castro, Pol Pot, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, Daniel Ortega, Hugo Chavez, and Nicolas Maduro. Whereas tens of millions died in the Bolshevik Revolution, at least 10 million people were sent to the gulags in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, and millions more starved in the terror famine in Ukraine. Whereas between 15 million and 55 million people starved in the wake of famine and devastation caused by the Great Leap Forward in China. Whereas the socialist experiment in Cambodia led to the fields in which over 1 million people were unalived, whereas up to 3.5 million people have starved in North Korea, dividing a land of freedom from a land of destitution. Whereas the Castro regime in Cuba expropriated the land of Cuban farmers and the businesses of Cuban entrepreneurs, stealing their possessions and their livelihoods and exiling millions with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Whereas the implementation of socialism in Venezuela has turned a once prosperous nation into a failed state and with the world's highest rate of inflation. Whereas the author of the Declaration of Independence, President Thomas Jefferson, wrote, "To take from one because it is thought that his own industry and that of his fathers has acquired too much in order to spare to others who, or whose fathers have not exercised equal industry and skill is to violate arbitrarily the first principle of association, the guarantee to everyone of a free exercise of his industry and the fruits acquired by it." Whereas the father of the Constitution, President James Madison, wrote that it is not a just government, nor is property secure under it, where the property which a man has in his personal safety and personal liberty is violated by arbitrary seizures of one class of citizens for the service of the rest, and whereas the United States of America was founded on the belief in the sanctity of the individual, to which the collectivistic system of socialism in all of its forms is fundamentally and necessarily opposed. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives that Congress denounces socialism in all of its forms and opposes the implementation of socialist policies in the United States of America. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or the smartest person in the world to agree with the things that I just read and to denounce socialism. And so it is very sad that 98 people couldn't do that. Coming back to the Muslim Brotherhood hearing, so far the main message that I am getting personally is that the Muslim Brotherhood is so bad and so gruesome that YouTube would demonetize just talking about it. Later on, people push back on what they're saying and say that it's just all offensive. The things that they're doing, all of this horrific stuff, is more offensive, like, to all of humanity than saying and calling them out for it, right? Muslim Brotherhood networks raise money here in the U.S. to support Hamas's terrorist activities in the Middle East. This hearing is an opportunity to discuss what the United States' next step should be in combating the Muslim Brotherhood's threat. Countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates have all designated the Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. I know there's disagreement among experts on how best to use these designations to address the threat posed by the Brotherhood and its affiliates, and we have different perspectives on the issue represented with our panel today, and I look forward to hearing the witnesses' recommendations. I understand that it's difficult. I just wish that more Americans wouldn't take things as offensive, where if a organization is committing acts of terror, then they should be considered a terrorist organization. But that doesn't mean anybody who has Muslim ancestry somewhere down the line is also considered a terrorist. But for them to begin to defend terrorists kind of makes me question that. Keep putting America first. It was so great to see Zohran fold to Donald Trump. Would you be so kind to make sure that yourself and your grandma and your cousins and your friends are all subscribed to my channel? Thank you so much, and join me every Friday where we go live on the Patreon. The link to that is in the description. I will see you soon. Bye.